Welcome to Over the Falls podcast, episode number 35. Coming up in this week's episode. Those fears now are like ingrained in me every time I go in the sea. It hasn't stopped me, and I don't overly think it, but if I'm swimming in the water on my own, it's in the back of there.
But that was terrifying. I definitely thought I was going to die. It was like a 12 to 16 seater plane. It was a really bad storm. The only reason why the pilot decided to fly is because the plane was full. So there was around 12 to 14 people wanting to go to this other island. And then he just came out the cockpit. He looked at everybody, he said, "Enjoy the flight," burst out laughing as if like he couldn't believe he was going himself.
And I jumped in the water and this huge shape caught my eye to my left and I was like, ugh. And my mind exactly went to a shark because I was in the Atlantic and I was like, oh my God, what the hell is that?
This episode is sponsored by JDM Construction, Ceredigion's go-to builders for all of your construction needs. From renovations to wood-burning stove installations, they've got it covered. Quality work and local expertise. Transform your home with JDM Construction.
Should we start with fears? It might be a little bit easier, less deep.
Okay. I've got one.
I got one.
And it's not like going back to my childhood either. It's sharks.
Okay.
We can talk about sharks for a bit.
Yeah, because we all surf. I love going swimming in the sea. Love taking my kids in the sea. I've never really had that much of an issue thinking about sharks. I mean, luckily for us, we've surfed a lot of places around the world, so that we're the places that have had sharks. And it wasn't until recently that I saw like 2 videos online. And it's the problem with phones is that people record absolutely everything now. So it's stuff that we may not have seen 10, 15, 20 years ago, whatever it might be.
You're talking about that Russian one?
Yeah,
the Russian chap.
Yes, exactly that one.
So and the Australian one?
Video,
both of those.
The sea swimming one
the
in
sea
Australia.
Swimming, yeah. So
I've not seen that one, but
horrific.
Horrific. It's giving me like, it's horrible. It's like the 2 videos I wish I'd never, which I'd never seen, because it's definitely affected me going in the sea. Even here now, it hasn't stopped me, but I am conscious of it.
Right.
Because the Egyptian video, I don't know if you've seen it. Don't Google it. It's of a guy who basically just gets mauled by a tiger shark. He's in the water, and it's pretty horrific to watch. And then hang on, let me finish because I know you're going to jump in. And then the other one is in Australia where it's just he's doing a long distance sea swim, and you don't see it, but you hear the sort of interaction of like the people filming and screaming. He's just been taken from below, then the shark has just gone right up, and the guy described it as like a car splashing in the water. That's how big the shark was. So he's obviously just been mauled by a great white.
Bells.
2 videos I wish I'd never seen. And those fears now are like ingrained in me every time I go in the sea. It hasn't stopped me, and I don't overly think it, but if I'm swimming in the water on my own, it's in the back of there.
Okay. Quite a natural fear, I think, in terms of like the animal kingdom and us as animals, because you're meant to be frightened of a bee because it's got these certain stripes on it. You're meant to be heights, spiders. It's a natural fear for a reason, to keep you preserved and alive, isn't it?
The best predator in the ocean as well.
They're incredible things.
That and a killer whale. A killer whale. I don't know. I might even put money on a killer whale. Yeah. But if they duked it out in the sea.
They do, don't they? Killer whales do kill great whites, don't they?
Yeah.
They go for their liver as well, don't they?
They do. They take the liver out and does it because it's so nutritious.
But being in captivity, where there has been death in when they keep them in SeaWorld and horrible stuff like that. But I don't think anyway that there's been like a killing from a killer whale out in the open oceans. But there has been in captivity.
What about Jaws 2?
Well, but have you seen those videos?
I like that documentary. Jaws 2 is a great one. Jaws 3 is good too.
Have you ever seen the video? I'm pretty sure it's in New Zealand where there's like 2 kids swimming in this like lagoon, and it's really close to the ocean, and 2 massive killer whales just swim past them, and they can hear the people on the cliff just saying, "Stay still, stay still, stay still."
I haven't seen that.
Huge killer whales just swim past them. Wow. It's terrifying because they are big fish. But like,
the fundamental thing I'm going to sound like, hopefully, like David Attenborough here.
Here we go.
Fundamental thing to remember is that shark isn't going, that's a human, I'm going to eat it. It's going, food, I'm going to eat it.
Okay.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I get the fear. The fear is genuine because they're in the ocean. They exist in the ocean.
And if they want to, you wouldn't stand a chance, obviously.
So, but years ago, like they usually hear stories, a shark would just bite you and then they go, actually, no, that's not what I was after, and leave it alone. But both those videos, the shark went back, finished it off,
blood frenzy,
and it was just horrendous.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, I can't, do you know what I mean?
I seem to remember when we surfed Queens last, probably, which was probably over 2 decades ago. I remember you duck dived, I think, and you came up and you went, oh, I just had like a vision of a shark underneath the water.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, yeah, that's horrible. But I always go to killer whales.
Oh, do you?
Because I think they've been seen around Britain a few times, killer whales, especially down by Pembrokeshire or Munt. I've heard a rumour they were seen outside Munt.
Okay.
Killer whales.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever been discovered? I think there's like a funny video I've seen online, and I don't even know if it's real, but it's like a Scottish guy, and he's paddleboarding, and it looks like he's in a lock, right? And then there's like a huge, what looks like a killer whale, right by his stand-up paddleboard,
And
he
sideways.
goes, "Get away from me, you fucking junkie!"
Yeah, he says something crazy.
Yeah, he calls like the whale a junkie, right? So
It's
it's
something
a
really
funny
crazy.
video, really funny video. But like, is that real? Do you get killer whales in a lock?
I'm trying to. I've seen so
You
many
wee junkie.
videos of killer whales recently. I think that was a basking shark, Dukes.
Yeah. I just
I
a
think it was
very
a
funny
basking
video,
shark,
and it
which
looked
are
like a
completely
killer whale.
harmless,
Yeah.
unless you're about that big because they can swallow you whole.
Either way, called it a junkie.
Yeah,
So funny. Such a funny video. Anyway,
That's amazing.
Get away from
Yeah.
me, a junkie.
Search for that video. Maybe not so much on the shark attack video.
But I
yeah.
remember hearing a story years ago, and I met this Australian family when I was in Portugal, and they were from Adelaide, which is notorious for big
Sharks.
great whites, because there's a huge seal population down there.
Do you know which coast? I can't remember what sort of coast that's on. Is that
South.
on the
South, right on the
South.
south, right in the
Okay.
middle. So he was telling me a story that he was either out surfing with, I think it was his son at the time, and it was either dawn or dusk. And he said, from about 15 metres away, he was sitting out the back, beyond the breakers, and a great white shark, massive great white shark, just swam past, about 15, 20 metres away. The top of the fin, cutting through the water, and just totally ignored him. Like, he obviously wasn't hungry at the time. He had no interest in him whatsoever. Mate, can you
Definitely was there.
imagine sitting there and just seeing that shark going through the water? It would be terrifying.
Yeah, it really would.
He got out,
It really would.
but I think they're so used to it in Oz, is that there's so many sharks there, they're so used to it, that it's kind of like, it's just one of those things.
They've got
and they don't
everything.
come in.
They've
have.
got so
They
many
have.
a
dangerous
lot of dangerous
animals.
stuff. Yeah.
But even they're so used to it. Like the shark alarm will go off on some beaches, or the lifeguards will be blowing the whistles to get them out of the water, and some of the surfers they won't come in.
No, because they're just like, it's not going to get me.
It's not going to get me. Like lifeguards have actually gone out on their big paddleboards to get the surfers in, because there's like a 4-meter bull shark floating about.
All it takes
And
is
they won't
that,
go out.
because their teeth are so sharp. All it takes is that nick, and you're
Life
probably
changing.
done. You're probably
Yeah.
done.
On a
you know.
serious artery. Yeah. Definitely.
Flame
Yeah.
neck.
So that's
Yeah.
my fear of sharks.
Well,
I'd say. And my brother's exactly the same. He's
let's keep
terrified.
let's keep it with water then, because that ocean is
Oh
a
yeah.
crazy place. I remember recently I went to Fuerteventura, and I didn't intend this to happen, but because we were just going to go like snorkeling and see what we could see, and I jumped in the water, and this huge shape caught my eye to my left, and I was like, ugh. And my mind exactly went to a shark, because I was in the Atlantic, and I was like, oh my god, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And it was this huge ray.
No way.
Yeah, I got it on video. It's awesome.
Wow.
And as soon as I recognized what it was, all the fears just went, and it was just like, oh my god, that is beautiful. And it just did its thing, and off it went. But before that, I'd had this, as soon as I jumped in the water, I had this, I couldn't believe how deep it was when I jumped in, all right? I didn't check that. It was so deep. I was like, oh my god, I'm like floating in an abyss here. It was just amazing. So I guess to talk about fear then, it was just like, I don't know what's in the water.
Yeah.
And
Fear of the
that
unknown.
really shocked me, the size of this thing. It was like as wide as this table. It was massive.
Yeah.
Big grey, round, I think they're called round rays.
I was going to
They're
ask you
local.
that, whether it was like, I don't know the differences, but like, I know there's manta and there's sting and there's...
Oh, it wasn't a manta, no.
So I mean, some of them are the size of like a picnic bench table, aren't they?
Oh, and
They
the rest.
They
And the
are
rest.
huge.
Yeah.
That's what's got Steve Irwin, isn't it?
Stingray, that was.
Stingray.
Apparently, that is really... I'm sure I read up at the time. It's quite like really like unlucky of him to get stung where he got.
Yeah, it was right in the chest.
Yeah, it was
wasn't
essentially in the heart, and apparently it's like there are deaths, but It's quite crazy with all the animals he came interacting with, that was the one that did it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he was doing crocs all the time.
Exactly.
And things like that, and sharks. And
maybe he sort of just he just lets guard down, I guess. He's thinking he's just around safe.
Yeah.
Fish and just thought,
but what a legend though. We'll stick for sharks just a little bit. I was like, told this story before, but only briefly on an older one, one of the early ones. But I was doing some scuba diving in Fiji, and we knew we were going to see sharks, or we thought we were going to see sharks, but they were white tips, small reef sharks, so kind of like still probably pretty scary, maybe like 3-4 foot, 5 foot maybe in that region, and they're not aggressive at all. But what the diving instructor told us, he goes, look, probably see some sharks, because we were actually diving on like a shelf. So say you've got like a big reef wall on your left, say for instance, and the horrible about it was if you looked down to the right, it was black. So you're on like a reef shelf, and then you look down and it was like too deep to see. So that was quite scary at the same time. Yeah. And then he said there's going to be probably packs of reef sharks, don't worry about it. But every now and again, there'll be a tiger or a bull in with the reef sharks. And I was like, right, okay. Jeez. And then we went down, and he said, I'll just give you the sign that there's a shark down there if there is. And it's that typical fin symbol of your head.
Very easy to recognize.
I thought, looking at loads of fish, looking down, having a great time. And all of a sudden he looks at us and he goes like this to make sure everybody's okay. And then he does the fin sign, and then he pointed over, and it was quite far away, to be fair. It was probably like, I don't know, maybe like 20, 30 meters away maybe. But there was a big pack of sharks.
No way.
Like circling and moving. And I looked at them, I think it's because I was younger. I was either 20 or 21 at the time. And if I think about if I had that experience now, I would be absolutely terrified. But it's funny how like your brain works, isn't it? Where you have so much less fear when you're younger. If I think about experiences I had when I was younger, I think I'd be terrified now. I'm like 40. When I feel like my fear has gone up. I think it's quite normal, isn't it? Like you're fearless when you're young.
I think it's because you weigh up the consequences.
You know? Yeah, like I think if anything, I was like, I was almost excited about seeing sharks, whereas now I just feel like I would not be excited about seeing sharks.
That is scary. I'd be definitely scared now. It's like flying though. We were talking about this just before coming on here, but it's like I used to really enjoy flying. Yeah, definitely got really excited.
Yeah,
me too. Excited.
Me too.
Yeah.
Now, any form of turbulence, anything, I've got my eyes on like the air hostesses, making sure that they're like not panicking. If they panic, you know you're in the shit basically. But and my palms are sweating.
Yeah.
Take off in the air, landing. I'm just waiting to get on that ground.
Yeah, me too. It's funny. All three of us probably think really, really similarly about it. And I love flying.
One part of flying, and that is the acceleration at the start.
Cool, yeah, it's cool.
I love that because it's incredible. I find it like you sat there, whoa. But as soon as it comes off the ground, I'm like, oh, and I just have to go headphones, and I just literally sit there.
I know
5-6 hours, whatever the flight is. I'm just like, don't talk to me. Leave me alone.
It just feels like a little bit like unnatural, doesn't it? You're so high
in the air.
I think it's a control thing as well, isn't it? Normally, like say you're driving the car, you're doing something, you've got zero control, and if that pilot is having a really bad day or anything like that, I know it's mega unlikely, but you've just got you're totally in his or her hands.
I always go to mechanicals. I go to mechanical failures. I never go for the human part. I always go for
I'm sure mechanical is
the wing.
Way more risk.
Flaps won't work, or a hydraulic has burst, and it's leaking fuel into the whatever, and I'm like, it's just gonna blow up in a minute. I honestly, I go really bad.
Final destination.
Yeah, I have to have like two or three beers or something and just try and fall asleep.
I have
as fast as possible.
Even 10 in the morning. I think the last flight I went on was actually one of the better ones. Me and the family went to Portugal and it was fine, but I still did have a beer or two, and the flight was like early. I think it was like 10 a.m. and I was just like, I'm just gonna have a couple of beers just to kind of like settle myself.
Settle down.
As in like, because I really don't like it. But then the 3 flights previous to that, I believe a couple of them were Canary Island flights, and they are quite bad because they're like windy islands, aren't they?
Yeah.
And a little bit of turbulence, and I'm saying like I really, really hate it, and I don't know what it is, whether you feel like you've got more to lose because you're older and you're wiser and stuff. But I did tell a really quick story. Like the worst flight I've ever had was on Fiji, and I was going from one small island to another small island. And it was when I was 20, 21, and I was essentially not fearless, but you just have a different brain when you're young. I didn't really care. But that was terrifying. I definitely thought I was going to die. It was like a 12 to 16 seater plane. It was a really bad storm. The only reason why the pilot decided to fly is because the plane was full. So there was around 12 to 14 people wanting to go to this other island. And then he just came out the cockpit. He looked at everybody, he said, enjoy the flight, burst out laughing as if like he couldn't believe he was going himself. And then went back in. I was like, oh my God. And then I sat down with these like Brazilian guys that I knew who I was traveling with. And then we went up. And it was horrible because they all had like their rosary beads and they were all really religious and they were just thinking they were all going to die and they were praying to God that they weren't going to die. And I thought maybe I was going to die and it was fucking horrific.
I don't know why I'm laughing.
It was horrific. It was because the turbulence.
It's a safe space to laugh about something like that.
Yeah, because I think it's like not only was it a storm, you probably don't get the height on an island hop where the flight is like 20 to 30 minutes. You probably don't get quite as high. So I felt like we were in the fucking storm, like in the eye of the storm we were going over. We weren't like 35,000 feet, no way. It was just like we were up and then down, and it was just a terrifying 25 minutes of my life where we all almost thought, and then the plane literally like erupted when we landed because we all thought we were going to die and we didn't.
I bet that beer at the airport when you landed was pretty good, was
it?
Straight down the hatch.
Yeah. And it was hot. Well, I don't know. Yeah, it was absolutely. But I don't even know if that's got anything to do with it. But I also don't like flying.
No. I listened to. It probably hasn't helped. But I listened to a podcast recently. Do you remember that Emiliano Sala, the guy who was playing for Cardiff? He didn't actually get to play for Cardiff because he died.
He passed away. Yeah.
Oh my God, the in-depth details of that. That plane was knackered. Well, yeah, but the guy wasn't. The pilot, first of all, wasn't qualified to fly like commercially.
What's wrong with that?
Exactly. The pilot wasn't qualified to fly at night. He didn't understand like the dials and things on that particular plane. He was going through a storm, well, rain and wind over the channel. The plane to go over there to get the footballer already had issues with it, and he'd already flagged them up. But they were like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It'll be okay," kind of thing. Mate, went down. I think killed both of them. They still haven't found the pilot.
Absolutely terrifying.
Was that a very small plane, or was it only the
tiny
two
little
of them?
plane? Tiny little plane, and it was just horrific. Really tragic.
I've got to jump in here with a question. Like, no matter what your status or privilege or whatever, you don't get on a plane if you're not sure. But I would be like,
yeah, the funny thing is,
though, I don't think I would get on that Fiji flight, Now, I think I would wait a day or two until the storm passed. But, like, when your brain is like, I don't know, I was 20,
you're
I was
there.
going with everybody, and we were excited about going surfing on this other island, and we were like, let's just get a flight. And, like,
but how did
I was more careless when I was younger. I guess that's it. I was more
But
careless.
How did a footballer who's probably got a bit of money, or more money than us three probably, how did he end up in a situation where he was going to get on a busted up plane to fly from, was it Egypt?
No, Nantes. It was somewhere in France. I can't remember the name.
Oh, okay.
Was it France to UK then?
France to Cardiff.
Yeah.
What? And they didn't find the plane, did you say?
So again,
They haven't found the pilot.
they haven't found the pilot.
Oh, right.
They found the plane. They got the
Got
footballer off the plane, but they've never found the pilot.
Oh my! You know that story reminds me of a tiny bit. It is the
such a waste.
The Kobe story.
That was a
helicopter, right? Because I read a little bit about that, and apparently it was really, really bad, like mist or fog on that night. He wanted to fly to, I believe it might have been like his daughter's basketball game or something weird like that, where he wanted to do it. And apparently it was really bad conditions to fly a helicopter, and allegedly he was like, "Look, we need to go."
Oh man,
that MH370 as well, that Malaysian Airlines plane. They've never
the
found
one
those
that's
people.
disappeared.
It's gone.
Yeah.
But there's like 200 people still strapped into their seats somewhere.
There's a few
great.
like that, isn't there? Or maybe like the Bermuda Triangle stuff.
Yeah.
I'm flying to Thailand this week.
Sorry, mate.
You'll be, you know what? It's weird. I didn't even think about that. Doing all these flights and like stuff like that.
It'll be fine, mate.
It'll be absolutely fine.
Absolutely fine.
Well, it's lie on air, so it's absolutely up there. Flying from Heathrow, big plane, safe.
Absolutely
getting
fine.
checked right now, probably.
Just kick the tyres before you go on. It should be fine.
Yeah, a little bit of gaffer tape on the wing. You'll be fine.
Yeah, if I really, really think about it, flying is probably up there with my biggest fears, because and you mentioned control. Yeah, you're looking out the window. It's so high up. You're like, I'm going to die if this goes down. If this goes wrong, and I hate that.
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't how I want to go. Something else's fault.
Do you know what the worst thing about it as well is you you kind of know for quite a long time that you're in trouble.
Oh, well, yeah. It's a long way down, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the only good things, like Nicola said this to me today, I was like, part of it, I think, like, you know, when you take your family, I feel like, oh my God, I almost feel like a weird bit of guilt, like I've taken them there and it would be weirdly my fault. And then Nicola was like trying to put a positive spin on it, going, oh, well, at least we go, you know, we'd all go together. And I was like, that's sort of a nice way to look at it, but then all dead as well.
That's what Rach, my partner, says. She grabs me, she goes, at least we'll be together.
Yeah, and I was kind of like a Romeo and Juliet style thing. You're all just going to go.
Not ready.
And I was like, I
don't want to go out like that.
Guess that's nice.
Yeah, they'll find us like that, and I'll be like,
but at least you'd like to think that when it happened, even though the duration would be gross, when it did actually happen, it would just be like, surely it would just be no pain. It would just be,
oh, I don't know. I've watched Alive, you know, when their ankles get snapped off and the seats are getting ripped out. Mate, I don't want anything like that.
I watched that new film recently, which is the same story, but it was like a
redone version.
Yes, it was in maybe Spanish or something.
Something of the Snow.
Yeah,
Society of the Snow.
Really good movie. Yeah. Alive
Brilliant.
was great as well, though.
Yeah.
So
Alive.
Survival story. I love a survival story.
True as well.
Yeah.
Lost.
That was true.
That was a good one.
That white polar bear was...
Polar bear was good. Right, so sharks, flying.
Oh,
What else we got?
Fear.
I've got a small one. It's still in the ocean. It's jellyfish.
Have you?
Really?
Yeah, I really, really, really don't like jellyfish.
Is it the ones that you know could potentially kill you, or is it just any
No,
of them?
because around here there's...
Oh yeah, they're not going to do anything.
I just hate getting stung by jellyfish. I hate bumping into a jellyfish. I hate swimming and all of a sudden I've swam into a jellyfish. I hate them.
Do you hate the...
And I hate that they're there.
Do you hate the pain? Or do you hate...
No, it's just like an inconvenience.
They are
like,
pretty grim, mind you.
I avoid nettles as well. Like, nettles.
Yeah.
I avoid wasps.
Yeah.
I can't avoid a jellyfish because it's like I'm swimming and it's like, oh, it's right there.
Yeah, you can't see them and then all of a sudden it's right on you. I had one across the face about 2 years ago when I was swimming.
Yeah, they always get me
Compass.
neck.
Yeah, wrapped. And about a blue bottle. Yeah, blue bottle one in Australia as well. That's quite painful.
Yeah.
I think I might have
no,
a blue bottle.
Box
is the one that...
I had one on my arm, all up my arm here, but annoyingly, I don't know what it was. It was native to Fiji, but it obviously wasn't like one of the mega dangerous ones because I just had the... I can't remember what it was now. Was it either iodine that they keep on their boat? They keep something that has the same stuff in it that piss does, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ammonium. I can't remember, but they put that on it and it made it a bit better. But like, I can't imagine what it'd be like to get stung by like a box or something like horrific.
That's pretty serious, isn't it? 'Cause
Yeah,
it's like
you
that's
can die.
pretty much certain
Such a
death you
little
don't
thing
get.
holds that much power. It's incredible. Wasps and hornets. I hate wasps as well. Love a bee. Hate a wasp.
What is the point of wasps?
I don't know.
We got
They are part of the ecosystem. I don't know.
what would happen if you pressed a button
So
and all wasps died?
I used
What
to
would
get
happen?
a bit weird with wasps.
I think we live in reverse.
If I could catch
forever.
a wasp,
I don't know, like the butterfly effect.
if I could catch a wasp, I'd get it in some tweezers and I'd try and feed it to a spider, right? And the spider would react to the web, tingling like that, come and see it, cut out the wasp and let it drop.
No way.
Is it because it's got a stinger on it?
Definitely, gotta be.
And the colour pattern, like what I mentioned earlier.
They're like,
if there's a
nope.
certain pattern, they don't go near it, right?
No, they just cut it out and drop it.
I
And
never
I'm
knew
like
that.
Oh,
They're just interested in the fly.
Just stand on it.
I thought it was a really juicy... Nope, won't touch it.
Like a burger.
Wow.
I've got one question for Dave, because weirdly, I knew Dave was going to bring up sharks, right? And this random thought popped into my head, right? I think I know the answer, but I'll ask him anyway, right? Imagine now... I don't know why you'd enter this competition, but let's just go with it, right? There's a competition, right? Dave's entered the competition, right? It's an amazing family trip to South Africa, right? Oh. But the main thing about the trip is that you get to go in in a cage in the sea in South Africa with great whites. Would you do it?
I think I said years ago, I don't think I'd ever do that because I think once you see something like that in the water, in its element,
terrifying.
I just couldn't ever get that out of my head, I don't think. No. And it would just be like, I'm never going in the sea ever again. So it might scare the shit out of me and have like a complete...
I don't think I'd want to do it. I'd happily get on the boat and I'd like to kind of go out and maybe watch them chum and then see them maybe. But I think like actually getting into that cage, and I've seen too many videos of the sharks basically being in the cage.
That's
they
the
like
thing.
ram into the cage.
Have you seen the one when he's in like a perspex box and he's sort of like just sitting there and the shark thinks he's just swimming, but he's in like this plastic which is meant to be shark proof,
Yeah,
and it slams straight through it and almost takes him.
Yeah, like, I don't think I'd do it, even if I won it. Like I'd go there and everything, but I don't think I could go in the cage.
Yeah, just pull a sickie on the cage day.
It was on my bucket list. It was on my bucket list to do.
Would you think you would do it if you were in South Africa, they were chumming, and you're on that boat and they go, "Get in, Med"?
I think I want to say yes, but I also, I've got to trust the people I'm with. I've got to trust.
And the cage.
The bit of a rusty one, a couple of plasters on it. Like, I'm good.
Looking like a really bad
mate.
weld on one of the bars. You're like, I don't think I'm going in
It's like bungee jumping, isn't it? Like, you got to trust that what's happening is not going to kill you.
I think I'd be on that boat, and I don't think I could do it.
don't know.
Being honest, I don't think I could do it.
It'd feel really alien, wouldn't it? You'd be watching as a shark swimming around,
terrifying.
there's a chum in there, and you'd be getting in the water.
Terrifying.
Not you're getting into a cage, but you're still getting into the water.
And then the cage goes in.
You'd be like,
cage goes in the water. You go in the water.
I don't like
Shark's
this.
in the water.
The flip side of that, though, is if it was all okay, it would be incredible.
Yeah.
It would be terrifying.
I would.
But it would be like kind of like a once in a lifetime
It would.
thing, wouldn't it? But I would just be so scared. I don't know if I could do it.
There was a video I saw of a very, very big female great white shark in Mexico, and they took the video from the cage, and it didn't attack the cage or anything, but it was so big, I was like, oh, I'm rethinking that.
Was it Big Blue? Is that what they call the big
Yeah,
one?
could be.
Big Blue.
Could be.
Yeah.
And you've got like
It's
this
colossal,
woman
this thing.
swimming with it, like along the side of it, and it's got like battle scars all over it. And
It's
it is
absolutely
massive,
Big fish.
massive female great white.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But weirdly, like my favourite film is Jaws. How
Yeah.
nuts is that?
love that film. Yeah.
Love the
There's
fear.
so
maybe
much to
there,
Jaws,
isn't it? You
though.
know.
We
Yeah.
can talk about that for
Fair
hours.
Yeah.
There's loads of acting. It's everything, isn't
Yeah.
it? Fears. Heights. I've got a fear of heights, but I think that's very general. It's the same as the same as anyone's. I don't like being next to something I can fall off of that's really high. That's it.
Yeah, do you get any like the vertigo stuff?
I don't know what vertigo feels like.
Neither do I, but I can imagine you just feel a bit weird when you.
People say it's the fear of wanting to jump,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
kinda get that.
No,
and I don't
think that is.
I don't ever feel like I want to jump off
I've
it.
felt like that a few times on like a high cliff because I think my brain. It's not that I want to, but sometimes my brain in a certain like social situation or something, it will automatically go in my brain. Luke, what's the worst thing you can do right now? And like I used to think of it when I was on the bus about like flobbing in the back of someone's head on the bus and thinking like I don't know why you think about it. But
Haven't said that's in school.
or like laughing at a funeral.
That's
quite
spitting,
like
that
a
is.
classic, isn't it?
Oh.
But yeah, surely your brain, you just think of what's the worst thing you can do right now.
Okay, so I
and
get
like
that.
on a cliff is jumping
It's
off,
jump.
isn't it? So I have had that weird. I wouldn't necessarily call it like an urge, but I have had a weird thing where we go, oh, imagine just jumping off.
Do you remember when we went to Fuerte together, and then we went to Lanza? Do you remember?
Yeah.
we
Oh, the
went
big
up
cliff
that
over there,
way,
wasn't
We
it?
went up to the
Yeah.
place that
Yeah.
we watched the stars from. We were on that ledge.
Yeah.
Remember that ledge?
Yeah.
It's like overhanging, like a mile, basically down to the. And I was like, I
was
couldn't go
high.
anywhere near that. I had to stay next to the wall. I couldn't go and overlook over the fence. I couldn't
No,
do
it
it.
was pretty terrifying.
Physically couldn't do it.
But people freeze as well, don't they? Say like they're on a really high. Because I know my father-in-law's done it. They went up to Crib Gore, Snowdon, and apparently he was walking across it and just couldn't move. Just got like, I bet that happens to loads of people, you know.
Dude, ask
yeah.
Rachel.
Just
Ask
like,
Rachel about Trovan.
I don't want to move, but they guided him off, like my
managed to,
mother-in-law and stuff.
I froze
but-
on Trovan.
Did you?
Yeah, completely. I was we were climbing up Trovan, and there's
Just
apparently
you and
me and Rach.
Yeah.
There's people around. It wasn't like a horrible day or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bit wet. Got past I think it's called the Heather Terrace, which is where all the heather stops growing. It's like or the last bit of the heather, and then it's all rocky. And they say on Trovan there's no two way. You don't go up it twice the same way.
Huh?
So I was looking for trails, and I found a trail, and then all of a sudden there was nothing. It was just like rock, and you're like, and you can see crampon marks, and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to literally climb that. And I'm in like my walking boots, and I've got a rucksack. And Rach is gone. She's like, yeah, come on, it's really good fun. I was like, oh, I envy you. Okay, but I don't know what happened. I got to a point where I was quite high up, and it was very steep behind me. I had my bag on. It was a bit windy. It was a bit wet, and I was just like, I can't move, because the next move I had to do was I had to really stretch and put my hand up on this rock. And I was like, Rach, I can't move. I'm really sorry. Just give me a minute. And she just kept going, you're fine, you're fine. I was like, I said, I feel really unsafe.
And I'm sure it was as well.
But it almost happened to me on, we went up Helvellyn in the Lake District as well. And I got to a point where I had to come down this really steep set of rocks and my rucksack was pushing me forward. And I was like, I felt like I was just going to fall forwards, and I kept putting my weight back like this, and she was like, you're fine. I was like, I've got to take my rucksack off. Once I took that off, I was okay.
I tell you what, it's remarkable. I used to have nightmares. I haven't had them for ages, but it is about me being kind of stuck on the side of a cliff and just frozen there. I haven't had one for a long time, but I used to have that quite recurring dream for quite a few years, actually, but I don't know why I haven't had it for a long time. It's weird.
I used to
but you're sort of stuck. And if you move, you fall.
So like halfway down.
You basically it's kind of certain death if you fall type.
That
thing.
happened to a chap on Snowdon recently. I think he's quite a naive chap, let's say, from Wales. He's a Welsh guy. He was on BBC Wales, a quick snippet, and he climbed down into this pocket, couldn't get back out, and the helicopter that came couldn't get to him because it was going to blow him off.
Oh, no way.
Because, the Coast Guard helicopter is really strong. So they actually had to dispatch more climbers to climb down to him with rope and climb him out.
Did they
and lots
get
of it, they got him and he was absolutely fine. It was just, he's taken selfies of what you've stood on. He's just basically stood on the ledge the size of that table and there's a sheer drop there. And he can't climb back up.
He kind of just froze and he was like,
well, he was just like, oh, God.
Yeah, I haven't got nowhere to go here. And that's about it.
Yeah. But I know some climbers and they're just off their heads, I think.
Mate,
it's the total opposite of what I have.
Free solo.
I was sweating about it.
My feet were sweating.
Yeah. Everything was sweating.
Yeah,
I just couldn't believe and how he was okay doing that stuff.
Totally calm.
I mean, the risk there, though. He knew the risk that one pretty small.
Have you seen his next one he's doing?
No.
So he's just
Alex Honnold. Alex Honnold.
I can't remember his name. It's definitely Alex, yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing a free climb in the Arctic on this sheer face that's never been climbed or something. And he's just released a promo. You can watch it on YouTube. Can't wait to watch it. But
I really want to push the envelope. It's incredible. I actually love it that people are that driven and they want to do something that progressive and dangerous. But it's just crazy.
It is crazy.
Like
great
even
for us, though.
Solo climbing El Cap, which is I think the one he did. Right?
El Capitan.
He
in Yosemite.
I mean that's insane, right?
But
it's amazing, isn't it? Like it's incredible, like really pushing the boundaries where people know.
When we release this one, I'll try and find this. It's the scariest video I've seen recently. It's a real life free solo lady, and I think she's on El Cap, and her muscles start to go in this position, and she starts to scream like she's gonna fall in a minute, and everybody else around her, you got this, stay calm, and she gets to this tiny little ledge, right? And she's like, oh, thank God. It's the worst video I've ever seen.
She's just like little fingertips just holding her.
Literally.
Terrifying
and she thinks that's a win.
Now. My palms are sweating now.
Yeah,
genuinely.
She thinks that's a win on this tiny little ledge. I'm like that.
I guess for them, that is a little bit of like sacrilege, but for us, they just can't understand it.
She's fully, one arm's there, her legs are both split like that, and her right arm just starts to go like this.
Muscle spasm.
And she's like, ah!
Oh,
and it's like,
flipping heck.
I'll try and find that for you. It's a beautiful watch.
Are we done on fears?
No, I got one really stupid one. It's been in the back of my mind since I can remember imagining it, I guess. Is falling down a pipe that gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you're stuck in that pipe. Head first.
Weird one.
Head first.
Pretty gross.
Well, it happened.
Where's that come from? Where's that come from?
I don't know. It might have been from a film.
Maybe
you're slightly claustrophobic
I don't
as
like.
well.
Oh yeah.
I thought about that, but then I'd done lots of potholing, and I went in caves in New Zealand.
That terrifies me. Some videos I see where there's someone's like in like a gap that looks just like the width of their body, and they're just like, what are they doing?
Why as well? I know you want to explore and stuff.
The ground.
What's it called when they can barely fit through?
It's like cave diving, isn't it?
Is it potholing or
potholing?
Yeah,
I think
that's potholing.
It's
Yeah,
horrendous.
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Where you go down into a mine or into a crevice.
Yeah, but there's really
and you slither your way through it.
Yeah.
From the belly of the world. I don't know. That doesn't faze me too much.
Imagine
I don't like
getting
the dark
stuck.
down
Imagine
there.
getting
Then.
stuck.
Oh, you're getting stuck would suck.
And then the
why,
water level is rising.
That's why that pipe thing is really horrible, because I can't imagine not being able to move.
Yeah, that'd be
And
bad.
how are you going to get out of that?
well, yeah.
You can't
Absolutely gross.
Someone has to know.
crawl out with your toes.
And help you.
Like that guy who got pinned by that rock and then he cut his own arm off.
Yeah,
100 and
37 hours, wasn't it?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been brutal.
It's a
Cool.
hell of a decision.
It's amazing what your body will do, though. What your mind will do to make you survive.
Like when we were talking about the plane crash,
Yeah.
Alive, like, you're going to do what you're going to do to survive.
What's the other one we've watched? The one when they're on that side of that mountain and one of them cuts the rope.
Oh, the touching the void.
Yeah.
It's one of my
Incredible.
favourite stories ever.
I love it.
That is.
Absolutely love it.
Especially when he shatters his knees.
Both of those should have died on that
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that mountain. They
100%.
should have been dead.
Easily.
Incredible
to both survive.
Easily.
human spirit.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up, you know.
The thing is, the guy who fell into that hole,
Vast, wasn't it?
he's seen a part of the world that no one is ever going to see.
Do you know what the funny thing is?
ever.
No, you're right. And it was horrible.
Because it's too dangerous, and he's just made it out of that. Like,
Do you know he fell so far down that he realised he couldn't climb back out. So he went further in
yeah. Like,
to get himself out.
yeah.
Like, imagine that.
Just
Yeah.
thinking.
How scary that must have been.
You got to go deeper to get out.
He must have gone to a very dark place mentally in that point to survive. But I guess you would to get yourself out of there to survive.
Yeah, you
Did
do
you
anything.
guys ever do, you know what the army do? They do that duck and they go through a tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys ever done that?
No, Toddy was talking about that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
There was, you know what? I don't think I've ever. I'm just trying to think now. There was like a little cave diving thing, either in primary school or maybe very
Pendine.
early in Penglais, and there was like a little where you go under the water and then you come up, but it's like one little tunnel. But weirdly, this just reminded me of a holiday. Me and Dave and another friend went on holiday recently to Foyta, and they've got like a natural rock pool that's like a natural swimming pool. And then beyond the rock is the sea, and the sea comes over and the big waves hit it. But there's like a split in the middle, so there's like a rock with a hole in it. And I went under the water, and I went through this hole, and I popped up in another pool. I thought, that was cool, I'll try that again. 20 minutes later, I went down, but I didn't realise that a wave had come over. And then I was going under, and I was met by the power of this wave, and it just launched me back the other way, and I was really scared. I thought I was going to drown for a second because I didn't know where I was. I cut my elbow, cut my hand slightly, because it just went really smooth the first time I did it. It was just kind of going underwater through a bit of a
And
thing.
then all of a sudden...
And then the wave hit me, and as I was going through, I realised I couldn't make it. It was too powerful, and I just got chucked out. And luckily, it was okay then, but like, yeah, it's pretty gross stuff like that.
No, it is.
Yeah, I would hate to get caught in a cave or a situation like with water involved, because that tide's coming in or it's going out, you know. and
Yeah.
If you
I was
don't
thinking
know-
about it. If I had goggles on, I was thinking that would be a lot less sort of like discombobulating or whatever, because you'd be able to physically see where you are. But then when you've got like no goggles on, I tried to open my eyes and like the vision's just so poor.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I was, and it was all like whitewash under the water. I couldn't
Yeah, just
see.
foamy air.
Scary.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of like the videos you see of the tsunamis and stuff back in 2002 from when like in Thailand and wherever it was. But just that, that is one of my biggest fears. Imagine being caught in that and you're with your family and you're like, you've got not only got to try and save yourself, you've got to try and save everyone around you as well.
Yeah.
And like,
Against-
it would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely
It's an
terrifying.
unstoppable thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely unstoppable.
You're right about the family though. There's a lot of horror films that put that element into it, like A Quiet Place. And they put the family element in there as well, because something's like, if you're on your own and you're just looking after yourself, it's one level.
You just think about yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you need to look after maybe your partner and your children, it just gets heightened and heightened and heightened, doesn't it, of how horrific that situation would be. It's one thing looking after yourself, and it's another thing trying to look after yourself and everybody.
Oh, definitely.
Who wants to start on traumas?
I'm trying to remember the first. I like to start things at the start. So,
Chronologically, let's do it.
I think the first traumatic experience was a mental one, and it was I lost a next door neighbour So we had these, where I lived in Trithall, we had this huge mansion next door to us. And inside was Terry and his wife Pat at the time. And then they had 5 daughters, I think. And the oldest daughter, Naomi, she got cancer in her knee, of all places. And they did an operation and they thought they removed it. And then she sadly passed away, I think, just after her 16th birthday. So I would have been 9 or something like that. And I remember that she never came home. And I remember her sisters, like, everybody grieving. And I was just, like, so astounded and so fucked off. I was like, what? Something in her knee killed her. You know, that was like the first ever thing I can remember of absolute shock and sadness, where it was just like the unfairness of something like that. I can't imagine what they went through. They must have.
I can't imagine it. Yeah, particularly at like a young age.
Yeah, it's just so unfair, isn't it?
Yeah. The unfairness aspect of it. And I guess that's why some people challenge religion, isn't it? Is because of how unfair sometimes it seems to be in the world, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I know I think about that in terms of like
sometimes,
you know,
where it seems to be.
Yeah, but so that's one in your
that's
childhood,
definitely something like a memory I've got ingrained of feeling very, very different to, you know, a happy kid.
Yeah,
definitely.
Have you had any traumas in your sort of childhood, or was it more later on in your life?
I'd say later on, I reckon.
Yeah, I think I'm similar. I'm actually while Med was talking about that, I was actually trying to think of my childhood, and I do feel really, really fortunate because, you know, I was relatively trauma free. You know, thinking about it now in terms of my childhood, it was like later on in my life where I had some traumatic experiences. I think we were 16. And when like a close friend of mine got killed in a car crash, that was what the first one where it was like, fucking hell, this is bad. Yeah,
and it makes you grow up a bit quicker as well, you know.
Yeah, your mind matures. It becomes a little bit hard,
and you see the ripple effect as well of like what it did to the family, the close group of people around that family.
Yeah, and
it changed everything
and everything. Yeah,
it literally changed everything. That moment changed so many things.
Yeah.
So that has definitely stayed with me.
Yeah.
Because I spent a lot of time with that guy I think we all did it, you know.
Yeah. I remember you were quite a bit closer. I knew, you know, him, but like I remember you went to like Centre Parks with like family and things. I always remember that photo of you guys in Centre Parks. So you spent quite a bit more time when we were closer to the family, you know.
Yeah. So I'm very cautious about driving and stuff. And I think to take it, like, I'm certainly not positive out of it, but I've never been like that boy racer, never been like that I need the fast car, I want to drive fast, I want to overtake, I want to do this, I want to do that. I think because of that, it's sort of ingrained into then, isn't it?
You know, a crash is not good on the human body, you know.
Yeah.
And why put yourself in a situation where you could risk that?
Yeah, exactly.
Just for speed and stuff.
Yeah. What about you, Dukes?
Certainly when I was older, like first bit of trauma, what it felt like, I suppose, was maybe like my granddad passing. I've been pretty like angry and upset. The normal sort of grief-stricken list of things that you go through, isn't it? And things like that. And then I guess after that, it was like maybe my dad's diagnosis, which I've talked about a little bit. And I was thinking about that today. Like I remember I heard the news at first, of all of the news. It wasn't face to face, it was over the phone because I was living in Swansea at the time. I remember I was in a house in, I believe it was Rodney Street. And then I told Dave, and I was sort of like on the edge sort of thing. And then Dave's mum, Margaret, rang me. And it was just such a weird feeling. I just literally burst into tears on the phone to Margaret. And it was like, whoa, it was, I feel emotional about it now, but it was just horrible.
Yeah, dude.
And then my dad didn't pass for like a few years after that, but that was like a really horrible pinpoint moment. And it's weird. I can like, I know what the room looks like. I know what phone I had. Yeah. And then I can picture it like ringing, and it was Margaret. This is after I heard the news, obviously. I answered the phone, spoke to Margaret for like 5 minutes. And I got quite a vivid memory of being in that room and having that really, really bad news. And it did turn out, you know, my dad did. But it's weird. It just feels like a death sentence term. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You've got
man.
cancer. I understand people beat it and it's incredible, and then there's like advances in technology and stuff like that. But certainly at that time when I heard that news, it just felt like a death sentence. Do you know what I mean? Like a really horrible death sentence. So yeah,
I
that
can't
was pretty
imagine.
traumatic news. And then the other one, which I'll go into, I have spoken about it briefly, but not in depth, was when so Nicola was pregnant with Isla, which is my youngest child. And then I think to some people it might not have been as traumatic, but it's all to do with context, isn't it? I've never had a seizure. None of my family members have had a seizure. Nicola's certainly never suffered with epilepsy or seizures or anything like that. So that was the element, one of the really bad things about it. And sometimes she would have night terrors or nightmares, and I'd wake up in the night, she'd make a bit of a weird noise. I'd roll over, just comfort her, go, oh, don't worry, baby, you're just having a nightmare. And then that's what I originally thought it was. So like 3 a.m. one night, I thought, I should have another nightmare. And I rolled over and I was like, babe, you're just having a nightmare. And then I like quickly realized that wasn't the case. And she was like convulsing and she was like really, really tense, almost like a ball, like your toes curling, slight like foaming at the mouth. And at the time, Nicola was probably around 5-6 months pregnant with Isla. So relatively heavily pregnant as well. And I remember like all the emotions like hitting me, thinking like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't know what's going on. I need to ring 999.
Mm-hmm.
Is she dying? Is Isla dying inside the body? And I remember like I was shocked for like a few seconds, and I turned over immediately to grab my mobile phone, and I dropped my mobile phone down the side of the bed underneath, and I couldn't get to the phone. I was reaching over and I was like, oh my God, I have to go downstairs now. And I ran downstairs and the house phone wasn't plugged in.
Oh my
So I
God.
found the cable, chucked it in, rang 999, asked for an ambulance, ran back upstairs, must have done it in like seconds, but it felt like an eternity, went back upstairs. And I thought she was dead on the bed, pregnant with my unborn child that is now Isla. And I just thought they were both dead.
Oh my God.
And that was like mega traumatic. And then like that's why I mentioned like the seizure thing, because some people might know what that is and then it'd be less traumatic. You think, oh, it's fine, she's just having a seizure.
Yeah,
But
education is...
to me, she literally looked dead.
Fuck
And I thought
hell.
they're both dead. For about, a minute or two, I thought, well, that was it. I'm on my own and I've got Cora in the other room. And Cora was asleep in the other room throughout this ordeal. And then fair play, they were amazing, the people who came in, the paramedics from the ambulance team that came up. Nicola just wasn't with it at all. They were asking her questions. She couldn't answer. She was like, it was almost like she was mute, because at some point she came round and opened her eyes and they were like asking her questions, but nothing was there. Nothing was there at all. So it was like she was like lifeless. Then there was some form of response with her eyes being open, but that was it. And then they carried her away to A&E. And then I rang my mum because I couldn't leave. Luckily, I was thinking clearly enough to realise I couldn't leave Cora on her own in her bed. Rang my mum, kind of explained. My mum, bless her, must have had a hell of a shock. Came up to just be in the house with Cora. Then I went down to A&E. And then obviously things did start to get better from there. From, thinking that you've lost kind of 2 people to thinking, all right, okay, she's had a seizure. And then obviously things do get better. And now Nick's on medication and it's fine. It's controlled via the medication, etc. But that was just when you think somebody's so close to you that you've lost them and a baby that you never met.
I got goosebumps since
Do you
then.
know what I mean?
That's scary, man. I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, I
was just
remember that.
like, I kind of didn't know what to say.
Yeah, it was pretty
I just
gross.
like, fucking hell, mate, that is like a really serious situation to be in. And I guess everything was going wrong as well, almost. It's like you drop your phone,
No, it was.
you have to run down the stairs to
Plug
get
in the thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like it sounds like it's. But honestly, I remember I dropped the phone. It literally, I couldn't get to it, and like,
And then
and
the other
I was
phone was not even-
I wasn't thinking that clearly as well. Like, maybe I could have like moved the bed. It's a big bed though. Nick's there. I'm just thinking. I don't know. Your brain, you're not thinking in the
panicking, aren't you?
best line.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You kind of find out that when you are in a situation like that, it's pretty amazing to be cool, calm, and collected. I mean, at a certain level, I was okay, but I certainly wasn't smooth.
What caused that? Was it the pregnancy?
It's really weird. It's like the NHS is incredible. I actually work for the trust and stuff like that, but it's crazy. Nick needed to see a neurologist, right?
That's brain, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I think she might have had a consultation over the phone, right? But this happened. So I was coming for around 4 years ago. I don't think she's seen one face to face, and she did see a very, very good doctor who has a keen sort of eye and like an interest in neurology, I suppose. And he said, look, we need to try you on this medication. And touch wood, it's been really good and it's worked and it's great.
Nice.
But it must be like so difficult to see a neurologist because she couldn't really see one. It was mad. She did have all the scans and all the things like that, but she never actually, and you know, she never saw a neurologist.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
You know, so like, I don't actually know 100% sure, but I think it's just for women sometimes you're at your absolute weakest because the baby is kind of taking everything from
off
you.
Yeah,
Like a little bit, like
all the nutrition.
Sounds gross, a little bit like a parasite or like an alien face hugger or something, where they're growing, isn't it? But they're taking so much from the mother. I can't even imagine what it's like having
all the
twins or triplets or anything like that. Your body must be so depleted, giving everything to the life that I don't know. But Nick's body, I think it was to do with autoimmune as well, because she had something with Cora which was a lot less serious. It was iritis, but they also told her that you can go blind from iritis as well. So she had iritis with Cora, so I think it's autoimmune. And then she had the seizure with Isla. So for whatever reason, the stress of the body with pregnancy doesn't overly agree with her, I suppose. Do you know what I mean?
It's an incredible thing.
So
it's incredibly powerful, isn't it? Pregnancy, incredibly powerful.
Yeah, but then some people they're like glowing with it, aren't they? And they have like 8 children. But for whatever reason, Nick's body kind of like took its toll on the body or something. You know, I don't know why though.
That's huge.
Yeah, but no, that's probably certainly up there. But Dave or Med, I know you know a couple you've had.
I got I've got one that definitely stayed with me for I reckon till now, still is. Because I got like beaten up when I was like 18 by 3 guys. Cut a long story short, it was sort of accumulation of things which led up to this moment. And I was like on my own on the promenade, walking to meet a DJ because I put on a night that night, and I went to go and meet him. I'm getting the thing about it now. Yeah. I can feel it. It's horrible. And I clocked the guy, no names because I don't want it to come up again, but I clocked the guy across the promenade. And he was with 2 other guys, which I didn't recognise. And I clocked them. I thought, oh, fuck, this isn't good. Mm-hmm. So I carried on walking, and I'm by the... So not the bandstand, it's the public... Like the shelter on the right-hand side, yeah. So they were kind of like there, and I was just by where the corner shop kind of was, when I could see them. I carried on walking, head down, and the next thing I knew, the 3 of them were like behind me. Oh. And they were just on me. I had an absolute hiding off these guys.
Oh my gosh.
And it basically, I was kind of in, I couldn't be in flight mode because I couldn't get away from them. I was kind of in fight mode because I was just trying to survive. I was just trying to limit the damage as much as possible. Because I thought if I get knocked out here, I'm in a bit of trouble. But then luckily it all just stopped. I managed to walk away. But like the lasting effects from that is that I still, to this day, look behind me if I'm kind of like on my own, or even certainly with Kat. I'll always keep an eye out, and if there's a group of lads there, I'll get a bit like just. I think my guard is up. I'm on edge. Yeah, but I think that's your survival instinct, though, isn't it?
Because something negative has happened previously. Yeah, you're on guard.
And like I think the feeling of I was totally alone. I was completely out of my depth. These lads were quite handy. I thought, fuck, this is not good. No. Do you know what I mean? This is not good at all. But luckily, I managed to get away from it, and it was okay in the end. But mentally, it's definitely affected me. Because even talking about it now, I'm getting a bit.
That's a huge thing to go through as a person, mate. That's
good to talk about it as well, though, because I know like.
We've chatted about it,
but we haven't gone deep into
depth about the lasting effects of it.
No, exactly. Because I think I was, I remember I was out that night, and I believe it was like something like Puna Nars, like a night on it. Is that right? Mm-hmm. But I obviously wasn't there when the incident happened. But I believe so. I think I saw like the sort of very beginning bit, and then maybe the after bit. But I certainly didn't realise sort of. The lasting effects, like what Med said.
Definitely.
There's loads of things that you go through as a person, and you're like, once you take stock of it, it's like, I'm really happy, I'm all right, you know?
Yeah.
Like be them accidents or be them situations like that one. I don't know,
But
a decision here, a decision there, you know.
I do want to make a point though, and that is that like I wouldn't change it because that moment kind of taught me a lesson to wind my neck in.
You've told me that before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yes.
I definitely wouldn't change that moment because I think leading up to that point, you'd probably agree with me. I was a little bit gobby, maybe a little bit cocky, and I think that taught me a lesson.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Fucking good lesson.
Yeah.
And even though I probably had lasting effects from it,
Changed.
it's changed me. It has changed me. I think I needed it.
Yeah, and it made you more cautious, which I understand is maybe not the best thing sometimes, but looking over your shoulder, I guess it's cautious, but it's maybe not terrible as well. Because
I guess
something
not.
Definitely not a bad thing to do.
Potentially, you'd like to think not, but
I think it's just because I could see them and then they were there. I think I'd rather be prepared. I think that's where it is.
Yeah. I always when you're telling that story, it's like you almost don't want it to be real that they were behind you. It's like you saw them and you're like, okay, they're not going to touch me, surely. And then they're right on you, and it's like, oh, it's on.
I guess it was because they must have just they saw me. They thought, there he is. They just ran around and just sort of.
Were you sort of like just thinking, is this gonna stop now? Do you remember what? I know it's quite difficult. Do you remember what you were thinking while it was actually happening? I
just remember being sort of like, I was so out of my comfort zone, and I just felt so alone. That's the feeling I thought.
Outnumbered.
I was outnumbered. There was 3 of them there, and they were all standing in front of me. Like, yeah, they tried to push me into one of the guest houses to get me off the street to lay into me, so no one could see. It's, stuff like that.
Yeah,
so I managed to wiggle myself out of that situation, but then they went into me on the road, basically.
Yeah, if you were knocked out, you have that worry. I guess you think of the worst thing. You wouldn't want them to like stomp on you, etc.
Well, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I guess you think of like the worst thing, but it's pretty horrible. And I remember thinking, I didn't know all of that information, I suppose, but I remember thinking like of the typical thing, like fuck, I wish I would have been there. Not that I'd be able to like handle these 3 guys, but then like
just
be able to,
if Dave
he wouldn't have been on his own.
Yeah.
2 people could have taken a hiding instead. Like, I don't know. Yeah. But I remember thinking that, but I didn't know all the information about it, I suppose. But,
it was funny though because you either you fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to admit it. I definitely froze at that moment.
Yeah.
Because someone who were good friends with at the time actually pulled up in the car to kind of say to get them away from me.
Yeah.
For me to fucking run. I stood there.
Got you.
I stood there.
Got you.
How
did you eventually get away then?
They just stopped.
Right.
They just stopped. I sort of like,
okay.
Just like, whoa. And then went to meet the DJ.
Yeah.
Covered in blood. T-shirt ripped.
What the hell, man?
And then it was like, sorry, mate, don't worry about this. Took him back to the nightclub.
Where did you meet the DJ?
Down by where Baravan is now. So it was where the King's Hall.
King's Hall, is it?
Yeah. Well, it was the car park then, I think it was.
My
a long time ago.
That is a long time ago.
Yeah. But
it has. And you do you ever think about it?
Yeah.
Or you mean you have lasting effects from it, but does it randomly pop into your head sometimes? Or?
Not now.
No.
Not now.
No. You just have
I'm just more cautious of, like I said, more cautious of situations like if I'm out or, but I don't know. I don't like going out that much, as in like on the piss and things, because if things kick off a lot in town, and it's just like I'd just rather not be around it. Maybe that's kind of subconsciously in there. I don't know.
I understand that element of it because I think about that stuff a little bit more. Say if me and Nicola are going out, maybe in like a city or something, like having a few drinks or something like that. I think I would think about that type of thing happening because it would be like so much of a worse position than say if us 3 were going out for drinks in Cardiff. I don't think it'd even enter my brain because I would just think 3 lads there. Worst case scenario, it's not that bad, but I think it's like heightened for me if you're just out with your partner.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
And I guess if you're with an attractive female who's going to get attention, it's going to happen.
That's the other side of it as well.
I hate that situation.
Yeah.
Dave?
No, I got it was a weird one because I was on like a bike event down in Pembrokeshire, 2019 July. And it was a big event. There's like a couple of thousand people doing it, and it was over 100 miles. And you have to do quite a lot of hills, but there's one particular hill. It's quite a hard hill. And as we were coming round to it the second time, like 70, 80 miles in or whatever it was, things started to slow down a bit further up because we'd already done it once, and it was like, this is weird. Why are they slowing down? And then a spectator came a bit further down the hill to say, right, everybody stay to your right. So everyone had to sort of veer out to the right-hand side, which was like, okay, this is weird. And as we were going up the hill, this poor guy was basically on his back, and two cyclists were working on him because the ambulance hadn't even got there yet, just full CPR, full chest compressions.
Yeah.
The poor guy was just like grey. He'd obviously had a cardiac arrest, and it was just like, it's just, that stayed with me. Because I know how people, like in ambulances and things, how they, like you were saying about with Nick, how full respect to the people who come in, they're so calm, and it's like,
They were great, yeah.
like, I understand it's their job,
Yeah.
but I think you've got to be a certain type of person. I understand they've been trained as well, but stuff like that stayed with me. And the poor guy died like 4 or 5 days later in hospital.
Oh, shame.
And that's kind of stayed with me because it's the first time I've seen someone been worked on like that.
Yeah.
And it's quite shocking.
Quite aggressive.
It's very aggressive.
The colour of the skin is, you'll never forget that.
No, you won't.
It's
And
you see that, you can't.
yeah, but it did sort of put everything into perspective as well. Like everyone was trying to get around as fast as they can, and everyone was trying to race this hill, and then it's just like, is it worth it?
Yeah, is it worth it? I know.
Do you know what I mean? And I know that sounds bad, but but that's another thing that's kind of stayed with me.
Yeah.
But touch wood, I think I've been quite lucky, traumas wise, and like not to have child traumas, but obviously grief.
Yeah,
hits quite a few times.
That's
grief's,
definitely defined as a trauma.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, I mean, like one of the main reasons this podcast started was that
Exactly.
that horrendous week
exactly.
2 years ago. Was the main reason I got the microphones. So, losing two friends within 4 days
Yeah.
was horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, man.
Let's end on a lighter note, shall we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to find one.
Yeah. But no, it's been good though.
Think of a funny story.
What, on either a fear or a trauma? It's quite difficult, yeah.
Oh, I used to. Okay, so fear. So when we've all been kids, and I used to try and make myself scared in the dark.
Yeah.
By switching off. This is usually if I was alone in the house, and I'd be like, right, I'm going to shit myself right up. Don't know why. I'd turn off all the lights in the house, and I'd pretend by voicing it that there was someone in the house, and I'd be talking to them. Because I believed it would get me over the fear of the dark.
Okay.
I'm not scared of the dark. So maybe it worked.
It worked.
You might be able to sell that, man.
What a strange thing to do.
But that's easy 3-step guide.
Yeah. Talk to yourself in the dark. Make it as black as possible.
Yeah.
You've got to play 2 roles. The guy who's coming in on yourself.
Oh, bloody hell.
But you mentioned like a reoccurring dream you had. I've had 2 that I can remember, 2 reoccurring dreams ever in my life. One was on a boat that sank, and I wake up. Haven't had that for decades. But my most recent one was when I first started the job I've got now in the art centre, which was because I do a lot of front of house work, like making sure the theatre runs smoothly and getting the show in and starting it. And there's a particular door in this dream that you can see the audience from midway point, sort of slope like that in the theatre. And I'm just about to clear the show, and all the audience are facing forward towards the curtain. And then there's one guy who just turns and looks at me, and I wake up, and I'm like, I had that for like 2 weeks straight. I had that dream for 2 weeks, every night for 2 weeks, and I was just like, what the fuck does that mean?
Who was it?
I have no idea. I can't.
Santa Claus?
It was probably a clown. I can't picture his
weird,
face. He just had these eyes, and he didn't look well. And I think it was probably like logically thinking about it. It's probably like you don't want to have to deal with a casualty because dealing with first aid scares me quite a lot. Even though I go into a really good place, it's afterwards I start thinking, oh my God, what if I wasn't there at that time, or what if I couldn't deal with that, or what if I didn't have that, and maybe it was that responsibility change in my life where it was like, I'm responsible for a lot of people in this auditorium, and logically I looked at it like that, but haven't had it for
Yeah,
I thought
maybe 4 years.
Streams are really interesting, aren't they? I think one of the ones I had was, well, two I'd say. I thought about one earlier. Like, I think everybody gets it. It's almost like you're either trying to run away from somebody or you're trying to fight someone, and it's like you're underwater.
Oh.
I think it's very common, isn't it? Where like you're having a dream, and for whatever reason, you want to run like Usain Bolt, but you're like underwater or something.
Yeah.
And that could either go for fighting or running. And then the only other one I had was, I think I had a dream where like my teeth all shattered. And then they all came out and stuff. And I don't know what that was about. I remember looking that up, and I think it might be like...
It's not money.
Yeah, well...
It's money.
I heard two things. I heard about money worries.
Yeah.
But then it's hard to tell, isn't it? Because I genuinely
Like dentists are so
don't know what it
expensive.
is. And then the other one was maybe you're just like... Could be anything, like maybe you're a little bit insecure or where you look or whatever. But I actually don't think it was either one of them. But I did have dreams where like my teeth were falling out or they break, and that was horrible. Then you wake up and you'd be like, "Oh my god, thank God!"
Was that before or after? Do you remember you shattered one of your teeth in the shore break?
I did.
Was that before or after that? Do you remember?
I don't know, but yeah, I lost like half
wonder.
of my, well, maybe not half, like 30% of my front tooth. I got a cap on it because I was surfing a shore break in Queens. You mentioned it earlier, and I like face planted the floor, and my tooth just kind of smashed against a rock. And it just totally
I remember looking at you, you're like...
sheared.
There is a photo somewhere.
And
like,
there is,
it's gone, mate.
Rich had one of those like old school wind-on, maybe underwater cameras. It was like terrible, before digital era. That's how old we are. And I think Rich has got a photo of that tooth somewhere, yeah. The hillbilly.
Have you ever had a photo when you're like, you're in jail?
Oh, a video. A dream.
A dream.
Yes.
And you wake up
Yes.
and it's like the best feeling ever that you're actually, oh my God, I'm not in jail.
I can't believe I forgot that. I had a very, very vivid one of me and Dave, and we were looking at like 25 to life, or like, you know,
For what?
20 to life, doing something. We did something. It was like armed robbery, I think we did,
Woolworths in town.
and it was really, really vivid. And that was one of the most relieving moments to wake up from, because you know sometimes you don't always get them. It's weird, isn't it? Maybe once a year. The dream is so real.
So real.
I really thought it was my life, and I guess that's why
gosh.
people talk about the Matrix and whether we're in like a recreation of a real world or something.
The
But
only-
like, I genuinely believe that was my life, and then me and Dave's life was like not over, but we were in jail for 30 years, and I woke up and it was the best thing ever.
Oh,
Suck.
that would be bad.
I do think though sometimes dreams can mean something, and then on the other side, I think sometimes you just dream about something that's weird and it's coming to your head and it has no deeper meaning. Do you know what I mean?
No.
I think sometimes a dream can have a deeper meaning, and other times it's just nothing.
It's just like a mixture of, there's loads of stuff you've seen like that week.
Yeah.
The 3 films you may have watched that week,
Yeah,
all
just
mixed
an
into one.
accumulation of
Yeah.
all these things.
Yeah, I think sometimes,
Memories.
Yeah, but I remember, I think it was you, Dave. I can't remember if it was you, but I think it was you. And it was a really good idea, and I've just never, ever done it. But I think it was you who told me you had like a sleep journal. So like, you know, when you wake up in the morning, I feel like you have like a very small window of opportunity.
Yeah, otherwise it flows away.
To write it down or write it in your notes or something, because if you get past about the minute mark,
it's gone.
It's
And
gone.
then you're so frustrated, then you're like, I had a really good dream.
But
Like, or
maybe
bad
it
dream.
wasn't David,
Can't
but
remember
someone
it.
I knew was telling me about it, and they apparently had like a bit of paper and a pen, and then they would literally immediately write it down, because you do forget it, and you think like, what was that amazing dream I was having? No idea.
I've dreamt music, like full tune, full tracks, just like banging really good music in my head.
Yeah.
And
Were
I've
you able
actually,
to recreate it?
I have done once or twice, but like I've whistled loads of it into my phone in like the middle of the night.
That's amazing.
that-
Because I was
that's
on
really
the
good.
because I was producing music for so long, like God knows hours per night or whatever it was,
Yeah.
before kids, obviously. That it was just ingrained in my brain.
Yeah, that's
And
what you
I
were
was just
dreaming
thinking of stuff all the time. And you're right. If you wake up and don't do it straight away, it's gone.
Just
It
goes
has gone.
forever.
It has gone. So yeah, I've got loads of like whistled memos
That's mad
in my
that you put it in your phone.
Yeah.
That's like the modern journal, isn't
Yeah.
it? The modern thing of having the paper and pen.
Are they all just really nice and simple too? Like a
Yeah.
simple melody.
I had one maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Nice.
and I woke up and I was like, oh my God. I told Kat straight away, I was like, I just had the best song in my head ever.
It's gone.
And I was gone. Yeah. Grammy award winning.
funny that I think some people must have these like epiphany dreams where they have a dream, they're like, oh my god, that's what I need to do, and sometimes it probably pays off. And
Maybe
then
an
that's when
invention or something.
and that's when people start thinking like, was that literally given to me like a gift? You can get like really deep with it.
Sandman.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little dream for you.
Like
Little invention.
something that's gonna like change your life forever, like a hit song.
As long as you write it down.
Or, there's so many good dreams.
But it's crazy how those things, those fleeting things that you forget, and then I can still remember like 4 or 5 dreams I've ever had in my entire life, like really vividly. Yeah.
I remember a dream. It's weird. I think I could control it. But what I actually think it was, I think it was like a multi-layered dream, where I thought I was controlling the dream, but it was a dream of me controlling the dream.
Me and Dave were Inception.
Yeah, but it's like when I was in it and I was living it, I believed that I was making the real decision. But I don't.
How you can remember that as well? That
was
incredible.
That is cool.
That stuck with me. Where like I thought like I could do anything. Yeah.
That would be a cool thing to do, though, wouldn't it? You go to sleep and then you are in like a different world, dreaming, and you are living it as well.
Yeah.
Controlling it. Whole different life.
Picking the lottery numbers.
Who's to say we're not?
On that note.
Yeah, on the nice.
On a nice note. Because I think time-wise,
Yeah.
we've rambled on like a good one.
That was a nice one.
Nice one, boys.